This is the Focus Shift podcast, your best listening experience for creating your best online business. We'll focus on topics that help you get discovered. So sit back, listen, take notes if you like, and get excited about growing your business.
I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine you spend hours, maybe even days, just meticulously crafting this beautiful, brilliant piece of work.
Right, like a huge project you've been outlining.
Exactly. Or, a stunning portfolio of your creative output, or maybe a highly detailed presentation that's supposed to shift the whole direction of your company. You just pour your absolute heart into it.
Yeah, you tweak the formatting, polish every detail until it's perfect.
Right. And then when it is finally in its most perfect state, you take it, you put it in a dark closet, you lock the door, and you just walk away.
Which sounds insane, but, it highlights this strange psychological blind spot we have. We index so heavily on the effort of creation that we subconsciously treat the act of finishing the work as, like, the finish line itself.
Yeah.
But why would anyone go through all that friction just to hide the final result from the world?
It sounds completely counterintuitive, but here's the wild part. We do this constantly in the digital realm. We create these incredibly valuable resources. We hit publish on our platforms or our websites, and then we just sit back.
You cross your fingers.
Exactly. Crossing our fingers, hoping an audience will magically stumble out of the digital ether, bypass millions of other pages, and organically discover our specific masterpiece. So today, we are going on a deep dive to systematically dismantle that habit.
Oh, I'm ready for this.
We are pulling apart a specific guide published on March 20, 2026 from the PhotoBiz Growth Hub. It's titled, How to Promote Your Blog and Why It Matters for Photographers.
And, while the source material is specifically targeted at photographers trying to grow their local client base, the core mechanics they outline are, well, they're universal.
Oh, for sure.
The underlying architecture of how they suggest turning a static piece of content into a dynamic asset. It applies to absolutely anyone trying to get their ideas or their research or their business in front of the right eyes.
Yeah, so the mission for our deep dive today is to unpack the exact system required to make your content actually work for you. We're going to figure out the mechanics of turning a quiet, passive website into this humming, active engine for visibility and authority. Because, okay, let's unpack this. Creating the content is simply step one.
Just step one.
Right. Getting people to actually consume it and act on it is the true operational challenge. Leaving it on your website without a distribution mechanism is literally the modern equivalent of locking it in that dark closet.
It completely shatters that whole build it and they will come fallacy. I mean, the internet has evolved into this incredibly crowded, noisy environment. Organic discovery without active promotion is statistically improbable at this point.
Totally.
But before we get into the technical mechanics of distribution, shouting from the rooftops, we have to examine the raw material itself. You cannot amplify a vacuum.
Which brings us to a massive psychological and operational hurdle that the source material identifies right away. And that's the tyranny of the blank page.
Oh, the blinking cursor is
Yes.
terrifying.
It really is. If we think about the specific use case of a photographer, these are highly visual thinkers. They operate in a flow state behind a camera lens, manipulating light and composition.
Right.
Suddenly forcing that brain to sit down, stare at a blinking cursor, and switch contexts to become a digital copywriter. That is a recipe for instant burnout.
The context switching is exactly where the friction lies. And the guide offers a highly specific operational solution for this, which is the AI blog creator built into the PhotoBiz platform.
And wait, what sets this apart from just opening up a generic AI chatbot?
Well, it bypasses the prompt engineering learning curve.
Yeah.
You know how generic AI often spits out that robotic generalized text?
Yeah, it always sounds so soulless.
Yeah, exactly, because it lacks industry-specific parameters. But this specific tool is programmed to generate well-structured, relevant content tailored explicitly to the workflows and client needs of a photography business.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, it structures the narrative arc, inserts the right localized context, and basically produces a working draft in minutes.
See, I always assumed the main hurdle for blogging was just a lack of time. But reading this, I realized it's actually about eliminating that initial barrier to entry.
Getting over that first hurdle, yeah.
Right. If the tool provides a structured draft, the creator goes from being a frustrated writer to being an editor, and that is a much lower cognitive load.
Absolutely.
But the guide is also uncompromising on the quality of the final output. You can't just generate a generic block of text, hit publish, and expect an audience to care.
Right, and what's fascinating here is how the guide defines the relationship between output and promotion. Consistency is merely the operational foundation, but promotion acts as the amplifier.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, if you multiply zero value by a massive promotional effort, the result is still zero. You have to start with what the source terms real value. If your posts don't offer genuine utility or alleviate a specific pain point, the audience won't engage with it, they won't share it, and the algorithms certainly won't reward it.
It's funny, when the guide talks about real value, my mind immediately goes to things like discounts or free presets or promotional giveaways.
Oh, well, sure.
But they are actually talking about educational value, right? And psychological reassurance.
They break it down very practically.
Mhm.
Value, in this context, means anticipating and answering the real questions your prospective clients are quietly stressing about.
The things keeping them up at night.
Exactly. It means helping them feel more prepared. It's synthesizing your professional experience into actionable guidance, or even just giving them a transparent, behind-the-scenes look at your operational process so they know exactly what to expect.
Yeah, the guide gives some great concrete examples of this. Things like what to wear for your family session, or how to prepare for your newborn photos, or top locations for senior photos in your local area.
Those are great prompts.
They really are. And when I was reading through those, a concept popped into my head. Think of these value-driven educational posts as a sort of pre-interview.
Oh, a pre-interview. Okay, let's explore the mechanics of how that functions for the consumer.
Well, think about the psychological state of a client booking a newborn photo shoot. They are exhausted, they're anxious, they don't know if their house is clean enough.
They don't know what happens if the baby cries the whole time.
Exactly. By providing a comprehensive guide on how to prepare, you are quietly proving your competence before they ever interact with you.
You're answering their unasked, anxiety-driven questions.
Right. You are passing the interview, demonstrating empathy and expertise before they even realize they were evaluating you.
That psychological framing is crucial because, as the guide points out, this kind of content operates on two strategic levels. First, it positions you as the definitive authority in your specific niche.
Okay.
And second, it shifts the dynamic from a transactional relationship to a value-first relationship. If a prospective client walks away from your website feeling educated or less anxious about their upcoming event, you've already provided a tangible service before money ever changes hands.
Oh, yeah.
They now have a concrete reason to choose you over a competitor who just has a static portfolio.
Okay, so you've passed the pre-interview on paper. You have this highly valuable confidence-building post ready to go, but that paper is just sitting on your digital desk.
Back in the closet.
Back in the closet. No one is reading it yet. This is where we have to pivot to the amplification phase, because leaving it on the website is a fatal error. We must push it out into the ecosystem. And the source makes it very clear that where and how we distribute this content dictates its success.
Yeah, the guide explicitly maps out the distribution channels. It mentions the heavily trafficked social platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Okay.
But it also specifically carves out LinkedIn as a critical vector.
See, I initially skipped right past the LinkedIn mention. It feels incredibly corporate to me.
It does, right?
Yeah, when I think of visual artists or local photographers, I don't actually think of a B2B networking site.
It seems mismatched at first glance. But if you are a branding photographer or someone who shoots professional headshots, LinkedIn is exactly where your target demographic operates.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Right. That is where corporate budgets are decided. That's where professionals actively seek out services to elevate their own personal brands. And the algorithm on LinkedIn heavily favors native text, professional insights, and educational content over just purely visual aesthetics. But regardless of the specific platform, the guide establishes a rigid operational rule for social sharing, and that is, you cannot simply drop a naked link.
Yes. Nothing signals low effort more than scrolling through a feed and just seeing a URL dumped into a post with no context.
The worst.
It almost feels disrespectful to the viewer's time, you know?
The goal isn't just to physically place a hyperlink in their field of vision. It's to manufacture a compelling, curiosity-driven reason for them to actually click it.
Right.
The guide insists you need to extract the core value proposition. Tell the audience exactly what specific problem this link solves, why that problem matters to them right now, and specifically who the information is for. You have to sell the click.
Okay, Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I was reading through this social media section of the guide, and I hit a piece of advice that felt incredibly counterintuitive.
Mm.
Wait, the article says to share the exact same blog post more than once over time. Doesn't that annoy your followers? If I follow a creator and they post the same article about senior photo locations 3 times in a month, my immediate reaction is going to be irritation. It feels like spam.
I mean, it is a completely rational assumption to make based on our own hyper-awareness of our output. We assume our followers hang on our every post.
Right, because we remember posting it.
Exactly. But we have to detach our personal feelings from the cold, mathematical reality of social media algorithms. The hard truth of distribution is that the vast majority of your audience will never even have the opportunity to see your post the first time you publish it.
Wait, so even if someone actively clicks follow on my profile, the platform is deliberately hiding my content from them?
Well, it's not necessarily hiding it maliciously. It's a function of feed decay and algorithmic throttling. Social platforms have a finite amount of space in a user's feed, and their primary business model is keeping users on the app as long as possible.
Right.
To do that, the algorithm prioritizes highly viral material, video content, and paid advertisements. If you publish a link on a Tuesday morning, it only enters the feeds of the tiny fraction of your audience that happens to be actively scrolling at that exact moment.
Oh, wow.
By Tuesday evening, that post is buried under millions of newer pieces of content. So if you redistribute that exact same post a week later on a Thursday evening, you are surfacing it to an entirely different segment of your audience who never even knew it existed the first time around.
That is wild. It sounds like social media is essentially a massive, incredibly noisy digital trade show.
Yes, perfect analogy.
You are setting up a booth, and thousands of people are sprinting past you. You might shout a great piece of advice, but only the 5 people walking directly in front of you at that exact second hear it. Shouting it again an hour later just reaches a new wave of foot traffic.
And that trade show analogy perfectly illustrates the larger strategic concept the guide emphasizes. And that's the vulnerability of relying entirely on rented audiences.
Rented audiences. Okay, let's talk about that. When you are operating in that noisy trade show of Instagram or TikTok, you don't own the floor space. You are renting access to those users from the platform.
Right.
The algorithm is the landlord, and they can unilaterally change the terms of your lease overnight. A sudden update to how a platform prioritizes video over images can decimate a photographer's reach instantly, and they have absolutely zero recourse.
Which is an incredibly precarious position for any business owner to be in. That is why the guide aggressively pivots to the necessity of building an email list.
An owned audience.
Exactly. If social media is a chaotic trade show, your email list is inviting someone into your private studio. You own the space, you control the lighting, the pacing, and the conversation.
No landlord.
No algorithmic landlord can prevent your email from landing directly in their inbox. The source points specifically to utilizing built-in newsletter tools, like those offered by PhotoBiz, to push your latest educational posts directly to individuals who have actively opted in.
See, sending a monthly newsletter feels so much more intentional. These are people who have essentially raised their hands and said, yes, I value your perspective, please send me more of it. You aren't fighting an algorithm, you are honoring an invitation.
And the operational benefits of that direct line are basically threefold. First, it generates an immediate, trackable surge of traffic to your website the moment you hit send.
Nice.
Second, it ensures your brand remains top of mind. Even if a past client doesn't need a photo shoot this specific month, seeing your name pop up with helpful content prevents them from forgetting about you.
Right.
And third, it continuously deposits into a bank of trust. When they finally do need to hire someone, you're the default choice because you have been consistently delivering value straight to their inbox.
And here's my question. Doing this manual distribution, yelling at the trade show and sending letters from the studio, it creates these brief, intense spikes in visibility. You hit send on the newsletter, you get a rush of clicks, and then the traffic flatlines again.
Yeah, the spike in the crash.
Exactly. You are constantly on a treadmill, having to manually generate the energy to get attention. So what does this all mean for the long game? How do we build something sustainable that doesn't rely entirely on our daily exertion?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we transition from the active manual phase of promotion into the passive compounding phase. And that introduces the hidden engine of this entire framework.
Okay, what is it?
Search engine optimization, or SEO.
Ugh, SEO. I gotta be honest, whenever I hear SEO, my mind immediately jumps to the early 2000s internet. just stuffing the phrase wedding photographer Chicago into a paragraph 50 times so the Google bots read it.
Oh, yeah, the dark ages of the internet.
But the algorithms have clearly evolved past that, right?
Oh, completely. They have evolved entirely away from keyword density and moved toward behavioral analytics. Search engines no longer just scan the text you wrote. They meticulously monitor human interaction to determine the quality of that text.
So they're tracking actual behavior.
Exactly. They measure signals like dwell time, how long a user stays on your page, and bounce rate, whether they immediately leave or click through to a second page on your site.
Okay, so the algorithm relies on human behavior as a proxy for quality.
Exactly, the mechanism. Think about the chain reaction happening when you follow the active promotion steps we just analyzed. You share an insightful post on LinkedIn. You send out your monthly email newsletter. This drives a surge of actual human beings to your specific blog post.
Right. And because we use the AI tool to help structure something genuinely valuable, like solving the anxiety of what to wear to a family shoot, those humans don't just glance at it and leave, they stay.
Yes.
They read the paragraphs, they scroll through the embedded photo examples. Maybe they click over to your main portfolio to see more of your work.
And the search engines are quietly tracking all of that behavioral data. When Google sees a steady stream of traffic arriving at your site, spending 4 minutes reading a page and then navigating to a contact form, the algorithm interprets that data as a massive signal of authority.
Wow.
It basically says real human beings are finding this specific URL highly relevant and valuable. As a direct result, the search engine begins organically elevating your website higher in the search results when someone locally types in family portrait idea.
Oh, I see. It functions exactly like a snowball rolling down a hill. The active promotion, the social media posts, the targeted email newsletters, that is you manually, physically pushing the snowball to get it moving.
Yes.
It requires upfront energy and exertion. But as more people visit and their engagement signals quality to the search engines, SEO acts like gravity taking over. The algorithm starts serving your site up automatically. Gravity takes the wheel, creating long-term compounding visibility without you having to continuously supply the heavy lifting.
That's spot on. The physical exertion of promotion in the short term builds the algorithmic gravity for the long term. You push the snowball until the environment naturally pulls it forward. It cements your authority in your specific niche without requiring you to be on that treadmill forever.
Okay, but pushing that snowball manually, especially in those early stages, requires intense organization. Pushing it every single day sounds like a fast track right back to the burnout we were trying to avoid with the AI tool.
It's a lot of work.
How is a solo operator supposed to actually maintain this without losing their mind?
Well, this raises an important question about operational design. The most critical failure point for anyone trying to implement a content strategy is treating it as a series of isolated, massive efforts.
Like going to the gym for 5 hours on January 1st and then never going back.
Exactly. You get highly motivated, you write 3 posts, you blast them everywhere for a week, and then you exhaust yourself and go silent for 6 months. To survive, you have to engineer these individual tactics into an automated repeating sequence. You have to build a system.
And the guide concludes by outlining a very rigid 4-step ecosystem to generate that momentum. Step 1. Leverage the AI blog creator to bypass the blank page and consistently generate structured, high-value drafts. You eliminate the initial friction of creation.
Step 2. Distribute that value across your rented audiences. Share the posts on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, ensuring you contextualize the link by clearly explaining the exact problem the post solves for the reader.
Step 3. Activate your own audience. Push that same content through an email newsletter directly into the inboxes of people who have explicitly asked to hear from you. That drives immediate traffic and generates those vital human interaction signals for the search engines.
And finally, step 4. Repeat the cycle.
The repetition is the actual magic trick. It's the physics of a flywheel. The first time you push a massive, heavy metal wheel, it takes immense effort just to get it to budge an inch.
Right.
But as you complete the cycle creation, social distribution, email distribution, the wheel starts to spin. Every subsequent push requires slightly less effort, but the wheel generates exponentially more momentum. The repeating system is what transforms fleeting momentary attention into a permanent engine for client acquisition.
It really is a powerful framework once it's up and running.
All right, as we bring this deep dive to a close, I want to talk directly to you, the listener. You might be prepping to launch a new piece of research, trying to get your creative portfolio in front of art directors, or figuring out how to circulate an innovative idea at your company. Whatever your specific goal is, the operational truth from this PhotoBiz framework remains identical. The act of creating the work is only half the equation.
Just half.
That beautiful, meticulously crafted project we envision locked in the dark closet. It fundamentally deserves to be seen. Engineering a reliable system of promotion isn't an act of vanity or annoying self-aggrandizement. It is the necessary mechanism to honor the intense effort you poured into the creation in the first place.
It forces us to entirely reframe our relationship with distribution. We established today that algorithms are no longer just scanning keywords. They are measuring human interaction to determine what is inherently valuable.
Yeah.
Which means your active promotion isn't just a marketing tactic. It is the required process of proving your worth to the digital infrastructure. And it leaves us with a really fascinating dynamic to consider about the future.
What's that?
Well, if AI tools can now instantly remove the friction to the blank page and allow anyone to generate a masterpiece in minutes, the act of creation is no longer the bottleneck. In a world where high-quality creation becomes infinite and effortless, an impenetrable, well-engineered system of distribution becomes the only true competitive advantage left. If the true value of your work only exists when it is seen, what other quiet masterpieces in your own life or business are sitting in the dark just waiting for you to send out the invitations?
The Focus Shift podcast is presented by PhotoBiz, the best website solution for photographers. Whether you're launching your site or scaling your online business, PhotoBiz has your back. To get started for free, visit photobiz.com today.